We Who Are About to Die is one of my favorite indie games of the last year or so. I just cannot get enough of it. It is a gladiator life sim, an RPG roguelike, where you take different characters with different backstories through their life in the arena and try to win what their victory is. And each backstory has a different victory. For example, this is a former soldier who's looking to retire, so he wants a lot of gold so that he can have a comfortable retirement. There is like a slave backstory where you can try and earn your freedom by winning over the crowds. There's a politician who's desperate to win supporters. Professional aspirants, criminal scum, just even thrill-seeking civilians who just craves the rush of the experience. As you can see, I've actually beaten all of the backstories in this game just because I cannot get enough of it. I keep going back to it, and it's actually triggering my completionism, which is kind of rare for me to do that sort of thing, but this game's just that good. We'll jump into a match very quickly, but I do have a little bit of the life sim stuff to do. So in addition to a shop where you can buy and manage your equipment, you've got your full character skills, which level up through use, but also through training. You gain ranks as an arena fighter as you progress through different matches and various different match types. As you can see, there's all different types of brackets here. You can upgrade your school with various different improvements that can help you out in the longer run. You invest in future characters, engage in training to improve things like stamina and all your different skills. And you can heal and repair your gear and kind of engage in things like bribery of different patrons and stuff like that who can give you various different benefits. There's a lot of the little management stuff here to fill the gaps in between the battles, but the fighting is definitely the focus. As you can see, I'm quite damaged from a ill-fated previous match that I engaged in. So I'm going to try and get as much healing as I can here, but healing gets increasingly expensive and increasingly less effective each week as you use it. So if you take a lot of damage one week, that can make the next week a bit more dangerous and you might have to take an easier battle. We were able to heal a fair amount of health here. The good thing about the professional soldier is they do have a higher maximum health, but I'm still going to be spending basically all of my winnings from the last week here to try and heal myself as much as possible. 97 out of 120 is not too bad. That does leave not really enough gold to do any training this week, but that's okay because we need a little bit of a rest anyway, and that would lower our maximum stamina. So as you can see, there's various different match types. You've got 1v1s where you earn gold and fame that you can spend in different ways, but there's other reward types too, like for example, you can claim the weapons of your opponents that you defeat. So for example here, we can learn a little bit more about this by using some of our fame to leverage here. We're fighting against a Linolean spearman who would likely have a spear and shield that we could potentially claim. Various different matches, including survival mode, where you fight a series of enemies, and if you aren't quick enough, you'll get overwhelmed. Group fights, even elite fights against flavored and named enemies with unique weapons, like Kunda the Pillager here and their Leposi Raider squad. So there's even a draft mode where you actually get drafted to the military and fight in an actual battle. But really, one of the more unique things about this game is the physics-based combat. So I'm going to go in just to a pretty simple fight here. We'll do this 1v1, and I might take like, I don't know, like my cheap iron claw in that I might be able to replace with their gear if I can be successful. So let's go into that match, and I'll explain a little bit how the physics-based combat works. In this, you have various different swings that you choose with your mouse cursor, and the way that you move your mouse when you make an attack. You can also parry and block and things like that, dash, move around, all of that jazz. Each of the different weapons functions very differently, has different types of attacks, and different things to consider. And you need to consider how your opponent is playing, what they are equipped with. This one actually has a very nice weapon. And the nature of your weapon, the nature of their shield, all of this comes into play. You can lock on or you can play unlocked. When you're fighting a group of enemies, it's nice to be unlocked and be able to have a bit more freedom of movement. But when you're fighting one person, it's nice to kind of just lock on and keep the camera positioned on top of them so you can focus. Whoa, took a nasty stab there. Now, something nice about the weapon I have here is it has a bit of a hook to it, right? And their shield is kind of narrow. So going around and hitting the shoulder with drag up and go over the shoulder like this and get in behind their shield is going to be pretty key here. Thankfully, this opponent is not too good with their shield, so that helps. So I'm going to focus on mainly circling to my right here and trying to hack the midsection, which is poorly armored of my opponent. Locational hits and armor all matter here, as does the speed of your attack, the type of weapon you're using, how your opponent's moving, all of that sort of stuff there. As being physics, sometimes it could be a little bit wonky and goofy, but it's also a lot of fun, and there's a ton of nuance that really makes my brain kind of, ooh. I love thinking about like the shape of their shield and thinking, okay, this type of shield with my type of weapon and their type of weapon means that, you know, they're vulnerable to this sort of attack potentially, and then like adjusting as they move in different ways. So a one-dimensional approach here to kind of just hacking that right-hand side and taking off their head and sending them flying is going to be pretty successful here. Now we can drop our weapon in this fight and take their shield and their spear if it's not destroyed. Where did it end up? We actually looted one of the better polearms in the game, a multi-hitting Ferodaka here, which is a very nice spear. When we win our match, we win favor with the patron whose match we fought in, but lose a bit of favor with some of the others. We gain fame depending on the equipment we're wearing. The crowd likes certain types of gear that looks cool and is flashy, and not so much other stuff that's highly protective but not very cool. And also how you fight. Swapping weapons, doing cool kills, getting multi-kills, taking damage, all that stuff contributes to amping up the crowd to increase the amount of fame that you win. As we progress, we'll gain ranks and we can get extra bonuses when we do, like increasing our skills, gaining extra services, and even gaining some kind of like permanent upgrades. I'll take a free repair here, as throwing is not something I use too much. Got a little bit of passive healing, but we're going to have to definitely get ourselves some extra healing as we're still a bit wounded from the previous match. And a couple hits we took in that fight. Not too interested in using a shield right now, but I will take this new spear that we got, this polearm, for a spin. It is an excellent one. Gonna get a little bit of healing. And we'll just play like 30 minutes or so of this game so that I can give you folks a bit of an idea of what it is and how it all plays. Let's get a bit more healing. That gets us nearly up to full and does leave a little bit of gold behind. Our gear is a bit damaged. These boots are about to be destroyed. The ones on our right there. If there's any other boots there for the right, Honey and Levy. Yeah, there are some other ones I could get here. I could simply replace these. I might do that rather than trying to repair these. So we'll go ahead and get these Levy boots. The weight of your gear does matter, as wearing heavier gear can slow down your swings, making the physics of your attack less effective so that you'll do less damage. And it can also lower your stamina regen too. So you have to consider gear weight versus protection level versus how flashy it is for the crowd. So the crowd likes things that, you know, look kind of cool, but like big bulky padded gear that's highly protective, they're not really going to be that much a fan of, really. There's various different tiers of gear all the way up to godly weapons, and there's even some unique weapons you can claim off of certain kind of elite enemies that you'll fight. This Leposi Darker Sword here is very nice. The shape of your weapon, I kind of touched on this a little bit here, the shape of the weapon matters a lot. Things like hatchets and axes and even like a curved sword like this can be really good at getting around shields or making it difficult for your opponent to parry. If a shield is narrow and you go for a swing from the top right to that exposed shoulder, that hook can really curve around and hit them in that shoulder. It tickles my brain kind of thinking about all of this stuff and trying to make my combat style as effective as possible. We have a survival match here, which pay very well, as obviously they're quite dangerous. However, this one is against Rabble. They're low-quality soldiers that will have half health compared to normal. A nice bonus here is insurance means our gear will be repaired for free, whatever damage we take in this fight. So we won't lose any durability, which is a big tax on your gold if you have to be repairing your gear a lot. So this is a very solid one. We can check the bets and see if there's anything that we could take that would be relevant for this match type. Getting one dismemberment is quite likely. If I am able to dismember one of my opponents here, a nice little bonus payout. We can spend a little bit of fame here and see what some of these other options are. There's actually a 1v many here that pays out even more against 6 enemies in the pit. I'm very tempted to have a look at something like that. There's also a 1v8 here if we wanted to take on something truly wild. That one actually has a bit less of a payout, probably because it's a lower bracket. So these are lower kind of enemies than us. The types of warriors that we'll be facing against here are a little scary at 2 brackets higher than us. So I'm actually considering going for this 1v many anyway. Let's take our new Ferodaka spear into this fight here and see how we go. If we had hirelings, we would be able to take them into this match to help even the odds, but we don't, so we'll be going at it 1v6. This is very difficult when you first start out, but once you start to get the hang of the combat, you can start to pull off fights like this and accelerate your career a lot more. Sometimes the arena can play a big factor. There are ones with spike traps and various other traps that you can take advantage of, and in a fight where you're outnumbered, that can be really essential. You'll notice I'm not wearing a helmet. I haven't really found a particularly good one yet that was worth the extra weight. So with the poor stamina of the soldier, I've opted for no helmet, which does leave me very vulnerable if I take a head hit. I'll be taking full damage. The armor won't be absorbing that. So these enemies are kind of lower tier, and we're going to focus on trying to like keep them bunched up and keeping them off us so that we can take pot shots at whoever's kind of left themselves overexposed. This thing has a very nasty and fast, wide sweeping attack that we can take advantage of. It can also be used to stab, and that can be quite effective here. And it does have multi-hitting, which means we can kind of cleave through and hit multiple enemies. We do have to be a little careful our weapon doesn't get tangled up on our opponents though. I swung high and hit that guy in the head there, was very nice. Our opponents are being pretty aggressive and staying on top of us, but we're just going to try and punish whoever gets out of position here. They were able to successfully parry. And we're going to kind of dance around the group and try and keep them bunched up on each other. If we're lucky, we can even have them friendly fire each other too. I am taking quite a bit of chip damage here though, which is a concern. I just managed to parry that swing from that sword wielder there. Someone just threw a spear, but it didn't end up hitting me. And stamina management in a group fight like this is essential, so I'll be taking it pretty careful and trying not to burn through my stamina too quickly. Tried to get a little stab there, didn't quite work. They were able to parry that just a little bit there, but a nice swing sent them reeling. 21 damage down in the bottom left. The speed of our swing, their armor, where we hit, all of that matters. We just hit 2 people with a massive headshot on both of them, so lots of damage there. Just a little chip hit there, not too good. Let's try and buy ourselves a little bit of space and get some of our stamina back. That guy was too opportunistically exposed. I had to take advantage of that. Where your weapon's kind of blade is matters a lot. You can stab past enemy and then hit them on the draw, like as you draw your weapon back. And that can be really effective with certain weapons. You can actually swing past an enemy and hit them on the backswing. This sort of thing can be very effective at getting around shields. So I can kind of stab off to the left and then hook in behind their shield. Like this. Like that. Perfect. Hit him with the tip in the head on the drawback as my weapon tried to reset to its original resting position. A group fight like this can take a while, but being patient is really key. You are heavily outnumbered after all, so any tactics you can come to even the odds, like any tactics you can use, are going to be essential. And don't be afraid to use the arena and try and get enemies to group up. Use choke points to your advantage to slow them down like this here. Although that guy did get around there. And I've had some of these fights where I was like fighting 8 people and managed to kill like 4 of them with a spike trap. Very satisfying. Not quite success there. Using very wide sweeping swings. So as you'll see, the way you control the combat in this game is if I want to do a right to left swing, I will click and hold and drag my mouse cursor out to the right. And then I will release and my character will do that swing. The angle and where I'm aiming all matters. As you can see, if I look down, I'll swing low. If I look up, I'll swing high and go for the head. Just try and get the parry there. It's like he got tangled up in one of his friends and we punished him for it. And each different weapon has different attacks. So in this one, a left to right is actually like a kind of a bash with the handle of the weapon. And some of them will have overhead swings, like this, for example, which we actually got him on the back swing there and uppercutted him, sent him flying. The physics does lead to some fantastic ragdolling from time to time. They're getting a little tangled up in each other. That's perfect. Bit hard to get around their shields. We want to go maybe and try and hit their legs with the low swings. Oh, hold on. Let's pick a better opportunity here. Our health is getting a little low. Nice. Try for a stab there. Did a little bit of chip damage, not too good. This guy's blocking quite high. Oh, I got tangled up on the other guy there. This weapon's quite long, and this is a pretty small arena, so not necessarily the best choice for this, but the range is also... Ooh, I've been disarmed. I'm going to sprint past and grab it. Just get my weapon back before I get punished for that. You can also feint, so you can start a swing and then quickly cancel it and start a new swing. So I might do something like this and then just feint it and then go for a follow-up. That can mess with the opponent's block timing. There we go. That counts as our dismemberment as we cleave them in half. And then there's this one going here. So I'll just show you a few different attacks. So if I swing up and to the right, my character will kind of go over the shoulder like that. If I go out to the side, we'll do our big arcing one. We can kind of even draw it back a little bit for kind of a more of an uppercutting swing. Some weapons will have a backswing, like a one-handed sword or hatchet, and some even two-handers will do that. In this case, it's, you know, it's a bashing skill. But the tip of our weapon is still a physical object that can collide. So even when we're going for this kind of like left swing, if I'm angled my body this way, I can still end up stabbing them. So we can give them a bash to send them flying, open up for an attack. And of course, we've got overheads and stabs and things like that so as well. So the stab is quite useful at getting around those shields potentially. If you stab off to the left and get them on the drawback, you can knock their shield out of the way. That can lead to disarming them of their shield as well. Our weapon is getting close to breaking. I might want to loot one of their weapons here. It's just so I save the durability. Although, I think, was this an insurance one? I don't think this was an insurance one. So we'll save that durability a little bit and try to have it not fully break so that we can repair it. There we go. Got him over the shield with that two-hander there. Perfect. Excellent. There's obviously a big group fight and the payout is massive. We did take a fair bit of damage, but we'll come out ahead from that, and a huge amount of fame for winning such a lopsided fight too. A group fight like that is not necessarily the best for showing the nuance of the combat, but just wanted to show you that sort of thing is possible. Max HP is a nice rank up. We'll go ahead and get that. You'll have various events that come up as well, like this is a big fan that comes after you and offers you a heirloom from their family, which, you know, we can just take and sell. And sell that for 1,000 gold. Nice. It's actually not a bad little shield. So this weapon's pretty damaged at this point. I'll unlock an extra slot and we can set about repairing that potentially there. But I do want to show like a nice little variety of weapons, so I might take like a random axe here, for example, and show you a bit of one-handed gameplay with the hatchet there. These Uwakan bone weapons are actually pretty nice, and the crowd tends to like them. This one doesn't have a bonus, but some of them do. We can spend a little bit of kind of fame here re-rolling the shop, but first I might invest in the shop a little bit and help attract better quality gear. We'll get our healing first to make sure that we're nicely healed. In fact, we might want to invest in our physician with all the extra gold that we have so we can get some better quality heals as well. All right, that's about as much as I want to spend on the healing right now. Let's re-roll the shop. Here's a godly weapon, for example. So this is the highest end type of weapons that can appear. We've got a bronze greave there, which is one that we already have. But our current one is getting a bit damaged, so we might want to run without it for a round and heal it up. I'll take an axe and shield into the next fight then. Perhaps that will be the play. There's a nice helmet here, but it's a bit expensive though. If I sell this two-handed sword I don't really need, I can get that helmet. Now we have ourselves a helmet, but carrying the heavy shield and the heavy helmet is lowering our stamina regen a little bit, so that's going to punish it, but we will be better protected here. And we will try and repair as much of these pieces of gear, or repair left to right, so I'll just shuffle those around a little bit and get ourselves a blacksmithing. I actually have a free repair for a large amount of durability, so I'll use that instead. I remember I got that earlier. Excellent. The different combat skills will affect kind of like how fast you are, how effective you are with various different skills. So you can see like shield is blocking speed, but you know, your speed of your attack and how much damage you do, more momentum and things like that with different skills. So you can kind of focus on one type of weapon, or you can get a general kind of jack of all trades, which can be good for going into matches where like the crowd will throw you weapons for you to use in that fight, for example. Luck of the draw matches. Focusing on things like stamina is always going to be good though. And on that note, we should do a little bit of training to try and improve my stamina further. You can adjust the intensity of your training, but it will lower your maximum stamina in the next fight. So a lighter training schedule, if you're going to be doing a tough fight, might be a good idea. Let's see what we have. We have a 2v2 here. We can use some of our fame to explore some of these options. It's the spoils to the victor, but the options of weapons there probably aren't too good. There's a tournament. Spoils to the victor, 1v1 against a Linoleum. So just kind of a soldier there. And an unknown fight. It's a 1v1. We don't really know much about that otherwise. You can re-roll these matches, but that can be quite expensive to do. I can also show you the tournament here. So this is actually a series of matches, and it has insurance as well, which is nice. So this will be some group fights, and then there'll be some smaller group fights, and then usually a 1v1 at the end, but sometimes it'll be a free-for-all. You versus 3 elite enemies. That can be really nasty. There's various different grand arenas these can take place in, but sometimes they can also take place in like the city square or private quarters. There's a ton of different maps. A lot of them are just kind of like a space to fight in, but many of them do have traps and things like that to watch out for. Our heart races as the horns sound, and we're sent into the bloodshed. I'm going to use this axe to try and get around the shields of some of these, and also think opportunistically here. This axe is rather short, so we do have to get in kind of close. Our shield will protect us even if we're not blocking, if we take a hit from that side. So I'll show you a few of the different attacks with the one-hander. So we can, of course, go for backswings and try and use that. I like to backswing and then arc up towards the head. So I follow through with my cursor, which increases the speed, but also helps us kind of like get up and around their shield and hook under their chin as their block is out of the way like that. Oh man, I took a nasty hit there. Of course, going over the shield or swinging low and hitting their upper thigh or something like that when it's exposed can also be very good. We can, of course, like swap over to their sword if we want. And the crowd can like when you do that, although they're booing because I'm taking too long to get back into the fight here. Swords will often have like a stabbing attack, but this one isn't actually a stabbing sword, so it doesn't have a stabbing attack. There are some things that you wouldn't think would have stabbing attacks, but do, like, for example, an axe that has, like, a spike on the head, or a mace, for example. Sometimes will have stabbing attacks, too. That can be kind of surprising and effective. I like to, when I'm fighting multiple opponents, not lock on with my camera, which gives me more control over kind of, like, my overall movement, whereas when we're locked on, we have precise control over our upper body. You see I move my mouse cursor, the upper body moves, but not my lower body. And if I'm not locked on, my entire body moves. So that can be useful for doing really wide sweeping attacks to hit like multiple enemies or hit an enemy that's off here. You can like aim at an enemy over here and then make it look like you're attacking them and then hit a guy on the left. So we can kind of feint out hitting this guy and actually hit this guy over there. Which might be our ally, to be honest. Doesn't matter too much. Sometimes there's even bets to like sabotage your own team and deal damage to your allies. We get a little bit of a heal in between rounds for the tournament here, so we can take just a little bit of damage. That will make the next one all right. Any weapons that we loot and are holding at the end will carry into the next round, so you can kind of consider that and try and get some upgrades or change up depending on the enemies you're fighting to something more effective. Oh, we got in a sneaky little stab there, sneaky little slash even. Go to the block there. Punish that side. He's holding his shield too far to the left. The sort of attack they're doing you want to consider, so if they're going for a backhand, that'll really open up their left side, so we'll want to go with a backswing to punish that. And if they're going in for a stab or something like that, we might want to punish that side. No, I'm taking a bit too much damage here. This guy's pretty aggressive, pretty sneaky, but we'll get in around that one there. Let's see, is there any other weapons I want to take advantage of here? Just a couple little swords. This one is not particularly effective, but I can show a bit of stabbing with it. So we can adjust how high we're stabbing, so I can try and go for the head there, which can be a nice way to knock the helmet off, to leave their head vulnerable so that you can then get them with like a big headshot slash and do lots of damage. This guy, so the shape of this guy's shield, right, see how it's kind of angled down like that as he holds it? So a backswing that hooks upwards and hits him in the head can be particularly effective at getting around that shield. Same as a right to left kind of overhead that comes down and hits the thigh because of the way the shield's angled like a rectangle. You've got like a vulnerable spot below it and above it with those particular angles. So the final match here is a 1v1 against this absolute menace. This guy's got a Ferro Darker as well, which is a nasty spear. Oh my god, that overhead caught me off guard there. Okay. We'll lock on as it's just the 1v1. And he's got some decent armor in the midsection and the head, but not a lot of armor on the arms. So we'll punish that and focus on that arm there. Just parry that. He's got a big swing there. You can see it kind of staggers me a little bit. Guy's just an absolute unit. Gonna get some cheeky stabs in here. Ooh, he got a very cheeky stab in as well there. Good thing about like queuing up a stab is it naturally holds your shield in front of you, so you can try and take advantage of that. And we can use the full length of our sword by like backing up and then kind of just lunging forwards at the last moment, just to get them with the tip. We're not doing a ton of damage here. Oh man, got in past that shield. Definitely having trouble judging that spear. This weapon we have is a really low grade weapon we looted from the crowd too. I should have kept one of my earlier weapons. We might be able to swap to something a bit more effective here maybe. My stamina's really low. I'm gassed. We're gonna have to recover our stamina a bit here. The crowd is throwing a lot of weapons in, and I see some better swords over there. This thing is like a blunt bronze training weapon almost. So let's see if we can get something a little better. The spike club's not bad. I'll grab that. There was actually 2 there. Let's get our stamina back here. Not sprinting or dashing. You can do like a hop like that, like a dash, or you can actually do kind of a run. These all drain your stamina though. That was a huge hit. Okay, I gotta kill this guy. Time to focus. Definitely giving us some grief, this guy is. Decent clonk to the head. We can stab with this thing. It's got a little stud on the end. Oh man. Really having trouble getting that shield in front of his up hit swings there. I gotta hold it much more dramatically high, I think. Zoom out a little bit, so I got a bit more room to maneuver my mouse. The damage we've taken has kind of capped our stamina out a little bit here. We're chipping away at him. I was hoping to have destroyed or knocked off his helmet or some of his armor there, but we just kind of worked him down little bit by bit with the chip damage in the end there. Whew, tough fight, but yeah, winning a tournament always feels good though. Their payouts are decent, not as good as like the survival or the 1v minis. But I always feel like it's a rite of passage for one of my fresh characters to win a tournament at some point. Ooh, stamina regen's a huge win there. Very nice. Got our durability repairs done. We got a new weapon we can reveal, something I haven't seen before. The dev added some new weapons today, I believe. What is this? A curved sword. I like curved swords. Maybe I'll take this new thing for a spin. Go ahead and get rid of that axe. There's a bronze spark 2-hander there. Those are a little tricky to use as they're kind of short the way your like hands are holding on them. But that's the sort of stuff you want to consider too. Like, so swinging right to left with this, you have to be very close to your enemies. Like, think about where the hands are placed and where the arms move and how far you can reach your arms out. It's obviously going to be very close to your body shot. Whereas like potentially like an overhead might be a little bit easier to get a bit more extension. It'd be cool if addition in the future if you could like kind of change the grip on your weapon a little bit. So like slide your hands further apart altogether. That would be rather complicated obviously, but that would be a cool addition. Let's upgrade our pauldrons to the better one there that we repaired. And we can put our bronze greave back on. Protect that lead leg. I like to consider how my body is facing and the types of weapons that I'm using. So if we're going in like this, which is often how I tend to fight, no shield for mobility and extra stamina, but this leg is typically the one that's leading ahead, and then this one is getting extended wherever you're making certain attacks. And if you're doing backswings, it's super vulnerable, so you might want extra protection on that side. If you've got a big shield, you might not really need a glove or a very heavy armor on this hand, because the shield is already protecting it most of the time, so you can kind of save some weight and money there. So lots of things you can consider with the gearing here. And the nuance of all of this is like what really gets my brain ticking. I love it. There's a lot to consider and a lot you can do to improve. And even like learning about some of the various little bits and pieces that you can take advantage of in combat, like the ability with a spear, for example, to, did I change my helmet? Oh no, there we go, that was weird. So stabbing off to the left with a spear and then having it hook around behind their shield, for example, like learning that was possible gave me a lot more confidence with the spears and really changed like the nature of how those ones felt to play. The Advantian Circus team fights. A 1v1 here in the stadium. A 1v many, where is it though? The Tarantian City Center against flailmen. Ooh, the flailmen are very scary. It's very hard to judge how flails move and how to try and parry them is very scary. This would be one we'd want to take a shield into, probably, to deal with those flails. I could probably do that, though. I'm a little hurt. If it's a particularly hard fight, you can sometimes not train so that you'll have more stamina for the fight. And I might spend even more healing myself up for this one, and then I'll take it on. But I will take the shield in for this fight. Either that, or maybe like use the bardige would be a good option for this to give us more range against those flailmen. But the shield and flail enemies I definitely have some trouble with, as they have like really long arcing swings that can be very hard to judge and are good at getting around your shields. To win this, we have to get 2 kills, so that's a fine bet we can take to make some extra money. If I lose, I won't have to worry about my debts because I'll be dead. That's the way I like to think of the betting. Transient City Center is a little back alley section here. Tiny little arena, which I should have taken into consideration because that makes a group fight like this really hard, as you have no space to maneuver. So for the group fights, I prefer like those larger ones or the arenas that tend to have spikes. So this is going to be very difficult. We're going to try and go for those very fast chips, and if I can take away that flailman first, that would be ideal. Might be more kind of like backswings here. Oh yeah, that was nice. Try and just punish these guys that aggressively extend out. The dev kind of improved the AI a little bit in this patch for the way that they use running, and I can feel it in these group matches. Definitely, they feel a bit more aggressive. Anyone who overextends though, especially if they're going for a backswing like that, we can try and get them with our own backswing to punish them. Whoa, okay, a little bit of damage taken there. Let's get that guy. I like this new sword so far. Whoa, nasty hit. Well, you're gonna take damage in this fight. It's gonna happen, but the question is, can we minimize it enough that... Ooh, oh my god, okay. That we can take them out first. They're definitely being super aggressive. Okay, back it up there. I gotta let my stamina come back a bit. I sent one of their shields flying, that's good. There's a nice little bit of range on the tip of this sword. It kind of extends out a little further than you might feel it would, which is perfect. Okay, let's just watch out that flail there. Punish that guy who's got that leg exposed. Whack him right in that leg. Okay. Oh no, my shield. Let's grab that right back before we get annihilated in here. I need that shield in this close quarters. I really gotta get my stamina back here. But you have to take swings to stop people from coming after you, right? Like, bisecting someone is a good way to take less damage, right? They can't hurt you if they're in half. That guy's arm is gone. Whoa, okay. Just trying to... Oh man, that hatchet just got right in behind my shield there, huh? Shield took 40 damage. Good heavens, that was a big hit that we just blocked. This thing's good at getting around that little buckler. That's perfect. Exactly what we need. I like this little sword. It's very fast, which is helpful in a situation like this. Fast, low stamina cost. It's kind of what we need just to keep punishing them. All right, I think we've got a little bit of breathing room there. Oh, very nice. Just me and the flailman. These guys like really scare me. Those flails are super hard to judge, right? Because you tend to look at the handle, but that's not what you need to consider. You need to consider the physics of the like chained head and how that's moving. And these ones here even have like a kind of like a little scythe crescent shape to them, which really like wraps around your shield. So it can be really hard to block them and nearly impossible to parry them. But a very nice backhand up and scooped up around the shield there as that buckler was out of the way as he was preparing his own attack. That was perfect. Fair bit of damage taken. Scary little fight. But lots of money. And when you're playing the soldier and want to get 100k for retirement, we can bond with some of these other patrons here to try and earn some extra favor, but we'll have a hangover. Is one of the events there for that particular patron. Our shield is pretty damaged after that fight, obviously. It did take a lot of damage. There's a godly spear. Very nice. The big two-handed axe. Oh, I might have to take a two-handed axe for a spin, huh? I just want to... I wouldn't normally buy this many weapons. You don't really need this many weapons normally. I like just usually having 2 that I can swap between. But I want to show you as many different weapon types as possible, right? So... I'm going to take a two-handed axe for a spin here. Bonus against shields and extra decapitations. I like the sounds of that. Okay, let's get a little bit of healing and head into maybe just one more match here today for you. A run of this typically takes about a few hours. I think we can do a little bit of training here. It depends a bit on the backstory, I think. Some of them take a little bit longer than others. Like I found the criminal who wanted to gain lots of favor with all of the patrons. I found that one to take quite a while for me. Many versus one. It's 2v1 our favor. Nah. There's a 2v2 there. What else have we got? A 1v1. A grand tournament with prestige and everything like that. Where's that in the stadium? Event Arena. Lions Raw Arena. Maybe I'll reroll for something more interesting. Oh, here's a nice survival in the Grand Villa. So that's inside someone's home. A group fight in the Grand Villa can be a little scary because it's quite small. And a group fight there. Let's go for the survival. And if there's a multi-kill, 200 damage, we're pretty likely to do that. Enemies have about 100 health, so 200 damage is 2 enemies down. We're battling for the private entertainment of some wealthy patrons inside their little villa. What debaucheries will they engage in after enjoying the viscera of this particular bloodshed? I don't think I've used this axe before, so let me just kind of test, get a feel for it here. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I like that backswing especially. Oh yeah, look at that, riding behind that shield. Oh, he got me with a cheeky little one while he was staggering. So I think like for this shield, it's not very exposed high and low, a bit around the back and quite good on the backswing. Like when he's like that, going for his own attack, we can kind of get him with a big old chop here. He's covering that side quite well now, so we might want to feint into a swing the other way. We can of course just try and hack the shield, but getting around that side when it's exposed like that is kind of ideal. Nice little parry there and a good swing. Oop, that was a very failed two-hander. The overheads can be a little tricky because of the way you have to kind of move. If you go down and off to the side too much, your character will twist. So you want to kind of like... Oops, hold on. You want to kind of... Oh, that guy's got a bong mala, that weapon is. You want to kind of like bring it down a little bit. Whoops. And you need to make sure that your like distance is good. Some weapons are easier to overhead than others. Oh, we disarmed him on the backswing. He grabbed the claw off the other guy, and we also removed his helmet too. That'll punish that head there. Honestly, surprised that doesn't just outright kill him straight away, right? One big axe chop to the face. Let's just keep... Oh, good heavens. Good heavens. The giant axe swipe. Taking the head clean off. This guy has no torso armor, so we'll go ahead and... Well, I did hit the head there, but... We'll go ahead and swing a little lower and hit that torso. That is not protected. There we go. Completely bisected. I am giving these people what they paid for. They wanted bloodshed for their debauched party. We are going to give them exactly what they want. The polearm is pretty good at parrying the left side there, so the backswings aren't going to be quite as effective. A bit harder for them to parry this right-hand side. And not very easy for him to parry stabs, but we can't... I don't think we can stab with this one. No, we can't. It doesn't really have a tip for stabbing. Nice backhand there as he was queued up for an attack, and there goes the head. The helmet doesn't work if you just chop their neck. Whoa, hello. Go for the parry, and follow up with a punishing swipe, but they did manage to get out of the way of it. They're going for an overhead, leaves them very open to a belly cut. Very nice. Not quite. Oh, he threw his sword at me and grabbed another one. Cheeky. Enemies can definitely be a little cheeky. The throwing is physics-based too. It's quite difficult, but you queue up an attack, and then if you release at the right time, by letting go, you'll actually just throw your weapon, right? So there's a button to just drop your weapon, which just puts it on the ground. But if you swing and then let go, you'll throw. It's definitely takes some getting used to. It's rather tricky. There we go. That was some brutal bloodshed there. And that gives you a little bit of idea of we who are about to die. It is a very fun game with a lot of nuance to the combat. A little bit janky at times, of course, being physics-based. But super satisfying and just very Moorish. It's been a lot of fun streaming it. And hope you enjoy the look of it and maybe check it out for yourselves. Anyway, that's it for now, folks. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.